So Josh Brown, I turn to you. We focus on this call by J.P. Morgan. They say since the vaccine confirmation on November 6th of last year, FANG names are 4 of the 7 worst performing stocks in their coverage universe. They have underperformed the S&P. Almost all of them are down over the last 1 month and 3 months. Is now the time to buy, as J.P. Morgan says?
So I think it's a fascinating topic because even 6 months ago, we were having conversations on this show, Judge, about whether or not the market could survive if these gigantic companies stumbled and how dependent the market seemed to be on the FANG trade. And, of course, that was completely untrue. And the opposite happened. The Russell 2000 raced about 26% higher in the fourth quarter. Massive outperformance by energy industrials. And I think it's a little bit poetic justice for all the people complaining about how index funds were propping up stocks and, you know, the whole market is Apple and Microsoft. Wrong again. Sorry. So now what happens? Well, I'm long a few of these names. I do think you'll see dispersion in the returns between them. It's $6 trillion in market cap, and it won't all be pulling in the same direction. So I don't know if I can go fully in on the J.P. Morgan call, just like buy them all. The ones I think have the most upside in the reopening, I would probably say Google, Alphabet. I think a lot of people resume searching for things that they hadn't been searching for before, and that leads to more ad revenue. Travel is a huge part of Alphabet's annual ad revenue, so that's going to return with a vengeance. So I like that name. And probably the most vulnerable for me, Netflix and Amazon, just purely based on less people sitting at home and shopping that way and consuming video. So I know that's very facile, not very sophisticated, but that's how I see it. And I am invested in Amazon, however, and Alphabet, and I own Apple. And I'm not in Netflix currently. I'm not in Facebook.
All right, Steph, let's talk price targets, okay? Here's what J.P. Morgan does for their overweight stocks. And by the way, Apple's not a part of this group. We're talking Facebook, Amazon, Alphabet, and Netflix specifically, okay? Alphabet overweight 2050 is the price target, $2,050 for Alphabet. Facebook goes $330, Amazon $4,100, Netflix to $628 again. Overweight across the board. Josh hits an interesting point. They acknowledge the reason why a lot of these stocks were down. Well, there was a rotation into cyclical stocks, the energies, the industrials, the Russell, and all of those things that have risen by leaps and bounds. Newer stocks, they call them, newer areas of the market. Maybe some stepped-up regulatory pressure, too, as we start to think about what a Biden administration could mean for big technology. But the question is, Steph, is it going to revert to some sort of mean where you have people go back into those big technology names?
I think you can be selective, but if you step back, we've been talking about this cyclical rotation for the overall market for the last couple of months because of the stimulus, because it's going to lead to better growth and better earnings. But even in technology, there has been a big rotation. FANGs have taken a pause. Software stocks have taken a pause. And what's in favor? Semis, semi-cap equipment. Have you seen any of these DRAM names? They are on fire. I mean, Lam Research, Applied Materials, Micron, TSMC, they're up double digits, and it's only the third week of January. So they're off like a rocket ship, and that was part of the rotation. And so why I want to be selective in FANG is because I'm not convinced that rotation is over. It could take a pause for a little bit, but I want to be in Alphabet like Josh. I think I totally buy into the ad revenue recovery story. Remember last quarter, they beat on ad revenues. It grew 10% year over year. That was versus negative 6% in the second quarter, and that handily beat expectations. So I totally believe in the ad recovery story, and Alphabet will benefit. And by the way, so will Facebook, but I just think Alphabet benefits more. Also, they're getting more transparent. Also, they have operating margin upside. They beat operating margins last quarter relative to the street by 460 basis points. So there's a lot they can do there. You get the cloud exposure, and you also have a $28 billion buyback. So that is my favorite. And oh, by the way, it also lagged all of the FANG last year. So I like that as a catch-up trade. I still like Amazon. I still own that one. It's a small overweight for me, but retail online sales in the U.S. is only 20% penetrated, and there's only 15% of the workloads are on the cloud. So they have a lot of upside, and they have a lot more going for them with regards to Prime and grocery and India and lots of other areas that they can grow. So those are the two names for 2021 that I like.
I'll tell you what, it's hard to find somebody who is in Joe Terranova's position these days, meaning the guy owns no FANG at all, Joe, right? You don't find too many people who don't own any of the FANG stocks at all who are coming on this program, and certainly a regular like you.
Yeah, that's not fair, Scott. I mean, I get it.
What do you mean it's not fair? It's a fact.
Yep.
It's a fact.
I own Apple. And
said
Microsoft.
we're talking pure FANG.
I own Apple and.
You don't own Facebook. You don't own Amazon. You don't own Alphabet. You don't own Netflix.
Okay. But I do consider Apple and Microsoft the same characteristics of the FANGs. But let's talk specifically about the FANGs themselves. Alphabet, I agree with what Josh and Stephanie are saying. Alphabet is the one name to me that stands out where if I'm going to take something out of the portfolio, I'm putting Alphabet in. I think one of the points that Stephanie make that is really a strong one is the increase in buybacks. Understand in 2015, they bought back a little bit less than $2 billion worth of their stock. They're now committing close to 60% of free cash flow towards buybacks. So this is something that is not going to be cyclical in its nature. It's secular over the next couple of years. They're going to be very aggressive. That's the one name that I would commit new capital to.